Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to compute the Net Promoter Score using a pivot table. So the Net Promoter Score is a customer experience metric that brands use to gauge customer advocacy or loyalty to a product, a brand itself, or a service. So by asking the customer a single survey question on a scale of 0 to 10. Some also code it as 1 to 10, where 10 means that they will recommend the brand, product, or service, and the lower score means they will not at all likely to recommend the brand. Okay, so once they ask this question, the scale has been categorized into three. Customers who give a score of 0 to 6 are classified as detractors, 7 and 8 are classified as passives, and then 9 and 8 are classified as promoters. So the score is obtained by subtracting the percentage of the customers who responded to the survey question, and they are the promoters. You'd have that percentage. Then you also compute the percentage of customers who fall within the detractor group, and then you take the difference between the promoters and the detractors, and you get your Net Promoter Score, popularly called the NPS. All right, so this NPS score is unitless. What it means is that it's just a single value. It doesn't come with percentage or any unit attached to it, and this score helps brands to understand at what extent where customers feel that they are confident to recommend a brand. So it ranges from negative 100 to positive 100. So the NPS will fall within this range inclusive, depending on the number of promoters or the number of detractors that you have. All right. So as to what value is a good NPS, depends on the industry as well as the market, and their industry benchmark NPS score, that's the NPS that you can always make reference to depending on your industry or market to give you perspective so that you can compare with your competitors in the same industry or market. Very important. So how do we analyze the NPS survey question? So depending on the platform that you are using, you may have a different version or different format of your NPS survey data, depending on how you kind of coded it during your data collection or the platform that you are using. So some online platform already have inbuilt NPS question, so you just drag and drop. And what it means is that they already have a program way of computing the NPS, and also how the data will appear when you download it. So we have one format where the scores appear just as the respondent selected it, so they are not categorized into promoted, detractors, or passives. The score just appear in your data. So that's one format. Another format is where each selection is automatically classified. So when a respondent select a particular score, then they are classified into one of the three scores: promoters, passives, or detractors. So you can have a data where this is what the platform gives you. Then some platforms like Zoho Survey and some other platforms, they combine both the score and the category at the same time. So depending on the platform you are using, you may have different version of the NPS data. So whatever it is, at the end of the day, you can still be able to compute your NPS. So how do we handle this in pivot table? So in this part, this is part 1 of the NPS. So I'll have part 2 where I deal with a different version of the survey, NPS survey data in a different format. But in this video, we are going to focus on where we have our NPS data, which is the numerical values that each respondent selected. All right. How do we handle this in a pivot table? So before we go into that, a little background of this data is an NPS survey data. that we have respondents from of a fintech company. So we have information about the market that these customers are. So the market are classified into four. So we have the Asia Pacific, we have Europe, MENA, and West Africa. So these are the market that the brand operates. Then we also have information about the gender of the customers, how long they have been with the company, product category they are using. So the brand has cars, investment, and P2P transfer. And we also have data about how the customers got to know about the brand. So that's the awareness channel. So these are some data that we have about the responders. And then we also have the NPS survey question, where we ask them, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or a colleague, on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 means not at all likely and 10 means very likely. How do we analyze our NPS survey data using pivot table? All right, so first what you need to do is to load your data to Power Query. So once you load your data to Power Query, the next thing you need to do is to look for your NPS data column. So this is our NPS data column. So what we want to do is that there are two approaches to analyzing the NPS or computing your NPS. One, which is the common passes, and then after you take the difference of the promoters and the detractors and you get your NPS, right? So that's the common approach. But there's one advanced approach which came up because of the necessity to be able to test if the differences between the NPS of some category, let's say male and female, or market A versus market B, or product A versus product B, whether there's statistical difference between the NPS score. So there was a problem as to applying statistical test on the NPS score when you take the difference of the percentage of promoters and percentage of detractors. So it came, the second method of computing the NPS was proposed, and that method, what is that it does is to recode the three categories. So those who select 9 and 10, who are the promoters, they are coded, their values are recorded as 100. Passives are recorded as 0, and then detractors values are recorded as negative 100. Then after, the NPS is then computed as an average of these recorded values, and then you get your NPS. So what happens is that both methods give you the same NPS, it gives you the same values. So the same thing that you are going to get from the first method, which is the common one, and also the recoded approach, you arrive at the same values. But the second approach is more flexible and gives you a step ahead to be able to check if difference between NPS scores of customers in market A and market B are significant. So you can then apply the test or the appropriate test statistic that you want to apply depending on the nature of your data or your design. Then you can then go further to do that when you use the recoded approach. So in this video, we are going to use the recoded approach, and that will allow us to have a further deep dive into our data and segmentation of the NPS score. And then in my next video, I'll then look at the most common approach to analyzing the NPS score. All right, so let's move on. So what we want to do is we want to then regroup our data. So first, we go to add column, and then we add a conditional column. All right, so this one, we want to first segment our NPS into detractors. Okay, so detractors, we have when our NPS score is less than or equal to 6. So those who select from 0 to 6, they are the what? They are our detractors. we return a value of what? 1. So what we want to do is that we want to add a column, right? We extract the detractors from the NPS column, and then we assign 1 to, that means if the person is a detractor, we assign 1, otherwise we assign 0. All right, so we have it. So we have our detractor column. So we do same to passives. So we have our passives. So passives, when our NPS score is equal to 7, so we give the person, or when it's equal to 8, so these are classified as what? Detractors, otherwise 0. Passives. So we have our passives. Then we add another column again, and now these are our promoters. So when our NPS score is give 1, otherwise 0. So we have our promoters. Okay, so if you check the column, see the first respondent, row 1, gave a score of 10. So that's the promoter. So you see passives and detractors are coded as 0, and then promoter is 1. All right, then we add another column, and that is our NPS column. So we want to recode, right? So we have the NPS, so NPS recoded. Okay, so when our NPS score is less than or equal to 6, so they are what? These guys are our detractors, and we want to recode it as -100. Please note, detractors are recorded as -100, so -100, and then passives 0 and promoters 100. Okay, then if our NPS value is equal to 7, that's passive, we give it a score of 0. Or if it is equal to 8, that's passive, we give 0. And then when it is greater than or equal to 9, so these are the promoters, we give a score of 100, we recode it as 100, otherwise now. All right, so we have it here. Great. So you see that we have recoded our NPS scores, and this is the single column that we'll be using to compute our NPS, segment the data with gender, product they use, the market the customers are coming from, and so on. All right, so what we can do here is that we have separated the NPS scores into detracted, passive, promoters, and then we have the recoded NPS score. So these are the columns that we'll be using to compute our NPS, find out how many of our customers are promoters, passive, detractors, and so on. So let's change this data type to numerical values so that we can find the sum of those who are passives, and then we divide it by the total number of respondents, which is the same thing as just finding the average, and then you get the percentage of respondents who are passives, who are promoters, and so on. All right, so once we do this, we go to home, from home we close, and then we add this to our data model. All right, so we want to generate a pivot table report in an existing sheet. We want to add our pivot table here, so we drop it here. All right, so now what we want to do is that we want to segment our data. So let's see, we want to compute the NPS by the market. So we have our market, so the brand operating for regional market, and then we want to compute find out how many of our respondents are detractors. So we pick the detractor and drop it here. All right, so by default, because it's numeric, it will be summarized as sum. All right, so let's keep it. Then we add our passives, then we add our promoters, and then we add NPS recoded. All right. So if you look at it, you see that because the detractors, passives, and promoters were coded as 1, so this sum is giving you the number of respondents who are detractors. Then this number of passives, detractors. All right. So what we do next is to divide the number of detractors by the total number of respondents in our survey. So if you check our data, we have if you check, we have 1,200 respondents in the survey. So what we do is that we just right click and summarize by average. So then we change it to percentage. So this gives us the percentage of the respondents who are detractors. Then we do same for passives, we do same for promoters, and then we do same for NPS. All right. So when we do that, we change passives and promoters, they are percentage. And to remember that the NPS ranges from -100 to +100. So that's the range of the NPS score. So the value should fall between -100 to +100. So know that it doesn't come with a percentage or any unit. So it's just a single score. So this is our NPS score. You can reduce the number of decimal places. So this gives us our NPS score. All right. So here, if you look at it, how many overall 12% of our respondents or customers are detractors, 29% are passives, and 59% are promoters. So these are happy customers who say they'll recommend us. So if you check, you see that our NPS, as we said, is the percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors. So if you check, if you look at easier, you see that promoters, we have 41%, and then we have detractors 16%. So if you find the difference, you see that you have we have this minus this, that will give us, so we have 24. So this is 24. So our NPS here is 24. So that gives us the right answer. So we can even check for the other rows and see that everything is the same as what we have, finding the average using the recoded. All right. So this is how we compute our NPS in pivot table. So we can segment our data, try to look at the data. So we can try to look at NPS by gender. So what it means that we just remove the country and we drop our gender here. So if you check the NPS score for female and males, you see that the NPS for females is higher than that of males. So that gives us the breakdown. So you can have it by gender. You can also decide to have it, you can segment the data by the product that the customers use. So you can have by product. So you just drop this and then select the product category. So you can find the NPS for those who are card users, those who use P2P, and then you can compare and see which product our customers those users of that product who are more happy or satisfied, or they say they will recommend the brand to others. So if you have follow-up question to the NPS, you know why they probably have a high NPS score. They'll mention some of the things they are happy about, and then you can leverage that and see how you can convert the passives and detractors to the next level. Good to check the industry benchmark and make comparison to that. And also internally, as you track NPS over time, you also be able to make comparison and see how the progress you have made. But it's also very good to gauge your performance with the industry benchmark to see if your NPS is above the industry average or not. And then your competitors, if you can get competitor data, then you can have these metrics to give you a perspective as to where you stand when it comes to your performance with customer experience. All right. So what you can do is that you can format this. You can format this with using the scale. So where you say that NPS score of when your the NPS score is, if it is you can say that if it is less than or equal to let's say when it is less than 0, yeah, when it is less than 0, then we format it as 0. So that means it needs improvement. Then when it is also between 0 and 30 inclusive, then it's good. So we can give it like a color of green or yellow, like this one. Then when it is above 30, from 30 to, so we can do it like 31 to 70. Then that means that we can give it like light green. Okay. Then we can have, if it is above 70, if it is greater than 70, then we have excellent. So the NPS is excellent. So you see that Asia Pacific has the lowest NPS. So, but as to whether, so you can check the competitors or the market benchmark or the regional benchmark of that industry where this brand operates and competitors, and then see if, even though within the business, customers, Asian customers or customers in Asian market are less likely to recommend a brand, but it could be like an industry issue in that market, or this score could be like a high score in the industry, or it's just a low score. So that kind of comparison has to be done to give a perspective as to where you are. So that is it. So we can also generate a chart. So we can copy this down in format for gender too. And then we can do that for other categorization or segmentation that we need. So you see that overall, when it comes to product level, so we have investment customers who use investment, or our investment customers are more likely to recommend the brand compared to card and P2P. So this is where the test for differences comes in. Into this metric, this approach to calculating the NPS now comes in. So because we computed the NPS by using average, we can then apply the appropriate testing to compute if there is significant difference between if there exists any significant difference between the NPS of the product. So you can then carry test for differences and apply it. So that is the advantage of this method. Another thing too is that you see that we are able to have all the 3 categories and the NPS score in just one table. So it makes it very easy to segment your data and move around and so on. All right. So some people too may also want to kind of they may also want to represent the data using a chart. So what you can do is that you can plot these 3 categories. and just inserting a chart. So this one, they add up to 100. So we can use, let's use stack bar chart, right? So because promoters, detractors, they all add up to 100. So we can use 100% stack bar chart. All right. Then we have, okay, let's see. All right, so you can do it, you format it very well. So because we have detractors, you can give it a color of red. If you want, you can format it as red. Then this one is, these are passive. So one thing you can do is that you can arrange them in order. So you can bring this one here so that you have detractors, passives in that order. All right, so we bring this one, you can format it with ash color or light. You have like middle, then we have this one as green because they are promoters. You can show the labels on it, formatted very well. You can send it somewhere. Okay. Then okay, so that is it. So you can do a lot of things to the data. You can just find a way around it to make it better. So some people too want to like you can use, maybe you can use a bar chart to represent the categories of your NPS score. So you can do that. Then when it comes to so and other people too may also want to plot the NPS score. So in that case, you can still do that. You can do it. You just have to format your data well. Then you can do that. So like this one, this is our NPS score. If you find the average, you can have it here. So you can also insert a chart, but this one, you are not making, you just want to see the spread, like which one is higher than the other or so. So you can use this, bar chart. Then, yeah, so you can have it this way. You can hide this. So you can format it, can show your data labels. At outside end, you can do it this way. Then format it. Yeah, so that is it. So this one is NPS. So you can even decide to increase the scale here so that but know that NPS start from negative 100 to positive. But here we don't have a negative value here. So you have to take into account of that when you are plotting your NPS score. So that is it. And thank you very much.